Welcome to the Business Advice Podcast, where we discuss marketing, money, and other matters with businessmen around Australia.
Hey guys, hello. Hey Adam. Today we have Josh with us. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. Hi, Dave. Hi, Adam.
It's great to have you. This is going to be a heavy hitting episode because Josh here is managing director and co-founder at Logmaster Australia, which is an NHVR accredited heavy vehicle compliance system provider. You know, being a coach and psychologist myself, I do not know what half those words mean, but heavy sounds heavy. And so it sounds like there's a lot to unpack there. And obviously, it's going to be a huge industry. What was your company worth last time we talked about this?
20 mil?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Casually. Okay, cool. So there's a lot there to learn from you, obviously. And I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks.
So, Josh, where did you grow up, or where were you born and raised? Just to start things off easy.
Sure. Actually, you're not allowed to hold this against me. And I do have this scar here from the head, but I was born in Hobart in Tasmania.
All right. That was a great interview. That's it. No. All right. And all right. And so do you stay in Hobart?
So I lived in Hobart until I was 11, and then all my family moved up to Brisbane. And then, like late in my teens, they all decided they're moving back, and so they all moved back and said, "Come on, Josh." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going back to Hobart after living in Brisbane and growing up in Brisbane." So yeah, but I'm in Brisbane now. Yeah.
Okay, right. And so that's where you chose to settle down. And what was your education like? Was it like a smooth? Were you smart all the way through?
So I was diagnosed with ADHD really early.
Okay.
So yeah, it was great fun for me, terrible for my mother and the school and any other kids that had to be near me. But I did all right. At the things that I was interested in, I did pretty well. At the things I didn't, I did poorly. So no maths, right? No maths.
No maths. But what were you interested in?
Computers, business, English, yeah, that sort of thing. Science, yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
Not good at maths.
Yes, neither. Don't let the Chinese fool you. And so, you had ADHD. What was it like? Was it a struggle, or did you find it manageable?
Well, I mean, for me, it was fine. For everyone else, it was terrible. So I guess a big thing for ADHD is impulse control, right?
Yeah.
So managing impulse. Also, for people with ADHD, you're able to hyper focus on things that you're interested in and passionate in. But if you're asked to do things that you're not interested in or don't have passion in, you got no interest, you got no focus. You'd rather do anything else. Which I use that now as like a superpower. But for growing up, like it's really hard for people in school with ADHD because you're forced to do all these different things rather than what you want to do. But it was a problem. I was a naughty kid and medication at the office and getting suspended and all that sort of stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now you've learned to make that into your superpower.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think we'll come back to that for sure. So growing up, you were into school, you were doing okay, and then you stayed in Britain. How did I get into
business? Well, I've always been into sales. So I did sales as through my teen years and early 20s. Sales is a big passion for me. Like I love the whole sales process. And sales
what was your first sales job?
My first sales job? Well, that's a good question. When was it? I've done so much sales. Like I've done the guy selling the paintball tickets. I've done.
Oh wow! Okay, the scalper.
I've done door-to-door sales. I've done phone sales. I've done,
Wow.
the guy selling the paintball tickets in the shops. Pretty much everything apart from real estate. When in terms of sales, I've done so cars
Right.
as well.
Wow. Okay. You have done
Yeah.
everything.
But to answer the question of how did I get into business, I've always been looking for side hustles with whatever I'm doing.
Right.
So, for example, I was working at Harvey Norman, right?
Right.
And I would get people asking, who's going to install this? How am I going to training this, that, and the other thing? And so I started a business that was I would go to people's houses after selling them a bunch of stuff and set it all up for them and install it and train them on how to use it.
Whoa.
I was making
Okay.
a fortune just doing that.
Harvey Norman should have bought you up and just make that a service.
They should have. They had a phone based support line sort of thing, but it wasn't someone in your house setting it up and doing it. So I got approval from the boss man to do it, and it got to the point where I was working 5 days a week and doing installs 5 nights a week, and then that thing grew as well, and I ended up doing like training sessions to senior citizens on how to set up Skype and Facebook and message their grandchildren. And I've always, whatever job I've had, I've always found a gap or a complementary service that I can offer on the side. It's always been that way in different varying degrees. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So you have a little knack for that, right? Like looking at the service gaps and then filling that in. Was that how you started Logmaster?
Not quite. Logmaster was a little bit different, but I can give you another example of that. It's really interesting. So, do you know the company Menulog?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I ran Queensland for Menulog for a couple of years, and at the time when you go into a restaurant and try and put them on Menulog, they have to have their own delivery drivers in order to use the service. But a lot of restaurants I went into were like, I don't have delivery drivers. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a bit too scared to get into that. And so I started a side company called Find My Driver Recruitment. And what I would do is I would show the business owners how to hire a delivery driver on a contractor basis. And then I would also give them a driver in their local area. And so I sort of set up a network of drivers there. And again, that was helping me get more restaurants on Menulog for my day job. And
absolutely.
Also, giving people in the area a job to go and do deliveries. And
it's a win-win-win.
It's a win. And even that grew. So it grew to the point where we were doing training sessions for, job service providers, right? So we would go in and do training sessions for people on Job Seeker and try and skill them up so they would be a good delivery driver so we could put them into a job.
Okay, so it's like cradle to grave kind of service.
Yeah. It was really good.
That's awesome. It's like you both creating demand and providing. Okay. That is awesome. All right. So when you start so many things from the sounds of it. How did Logmaster start? What's the origin story there?
All right. So, do you know the rideshare company Ola?
No.
Have you heard of Ola? Okay, so Ola is an Indian-owned company that's rivals Uber, right? Yeah. So it does rideshare. Now,
was it global?
Oh, they're pretty big. Yeah, they're all over the place. So when Ola came to Australia, I was hired to do operations. So get it off the ground in certain states. And so we grew the Ola business really quickly, and it was about getting drivers to sign up to drive rideshare, and then getting the word out about promotion so that passengers would choose Ola instead of Uber. And then so the business grew really quickly. I was running the Queensland operations there, and my current business partner, Stuart, was running the Sydney operations. And what we were getting were rideshare passengers coming into our offices saying, I feel really unsafe in these cabs. the drivers are clearly, they're tired or they're fatigued or they're swerving.
Okay.
It's like they're falling asleep.
Right.
And, it's a big problem because
Yeah,
you've got
for
a
sure.
lot of different providers of rideshare on the road. And the main issue was that a driver could jump between rideshare apps, right? And so they
Yeah.
could do a lot of hours in a
Yeah.
row.
Yeah, true.
They end up tired, and then they put people at risk.
Right.
So we started with an app that tracks time behind the wheel, but also time that the drivers might be doing their day job as well. So like a fatigue tracker.
Yeah.
Right. And so we started consulting with the Rideshare Driver Association on the product, and a lot of their committee members were business owners who had passenger transport businesses. So town car.
So it's relevant for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely relevant.
Okay,
those are transport professionals who are just interested in making rideshare better. Right, so a lot of the committee members had their own businesses, and they started using our product to cover off on a portion of the audit that they need to do every quarter.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Yeah. And so they started using it for that, and then they sort of came back and said, hey, this is great for this. Can you help us do these other parts of the audit? And so we started building onto that rideshare product or that passenger transport product.
It just started growing by itself from demand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We got it to the point where if a passenger transport business used it properly for the whole quarter, the day before the audit, they could hit a button, it would print out a report, they'd hand it to the auditor, and the auditor would go, tick, 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 you're done, well done, that's nice and clean.
No, that's the easiest auditing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, that was going well, but the problem with that particular business there, if we're talking about light vehicle, is the Australian government hasn't put a rule set around passenger transport and light vehicles, right?
Okay,
so
as a regulation.
Yeah, as a regulation,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So they haven't said you can only drive for 5 hours and 15 minutes.
Right.
15-minute break. They haven't put a rule set against it, which means it's hard to productize something when you don't have a regulation to work to.
It's not mandatory. Yeah.
That's right. It's not mandatory.
Yeah.
So it was around about this time that we started getting some notice from heavy vehicle industry saying, well, hey, you're building good tech. Where's ours? Right. and
they were looking, they were seeking you.
It was really interesting. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but a really big company, like global company, one of their guys in Australia had been looking at my LinkedIn, and I'm sitting here going, they're either a competitor about to take us out and take our idea, or there could be a business opportunity.
The biggest client.
Yeah. And so basically what we did is we did a bunch of consulting with the industry, with the heavy vehicle industry. Worked out what was missing, what was needed, what they wanted, what software was available, why it wasn't good enough, and basically the ability to get rid of paperwork in the trucking industry was something
that would be
good that they wanted. And I'll tell you, so if you drive a truck in Australia that's more than 12 tons, if you drive it more than 100 k's away from its base, you need to fill out one of these ugly things. All right.
Oh, all right.
So this is a national heavy vehicle regulator paper diary.
So everyone has one of these in their trucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll see there. So you're supposed to fill this out when you're working and resting, right?
Right.
And the first 20-something pages of this diary are the rules.
Oh, they're just rules, to tell you how to track, how to log.
How to do it properly, right? But the thing is, it's really difficult to be able to do your work and rest right, keep it on track, understand what you're doing, deal with changes in jobs, deal with crossing over regulatory zones and all that sort of stuff. So, Logmaster automates that. It puts it in an app for the driver. See, the thing is, those drivers, when they get pulled over for checks, first thing they do is, can I see your logbook? And so you got roadside officials and highway police officers looking through that
Right,
and
right.
finding drivers, sending them to court, and the fines are really heavy.
Wow, that's like it's not just an annual audit. It's actually like it's
No,
like pop quiz. It's just every
every,
time you're on the road.
every day drivers are getting pulled over and checked their
Right,
logbook, and if they're not right, they're getting huge fines or court dates. Like it's
right.
enough to turn a lot of drivers away
Not to
from driving.
mention the emotional toil of like you just have 15 minutes to rest, but you have to spend half of that logging how long you've
Yeah,
worked.
yeah, that's right. And there's other things with that paper book as well. Like, sorry to dig right down into the
No, it's
actual
so
core
good. Keep
content
going.
of what a business does, but on that paper book, when you're a truck driver, you got to mark your time in 15-minute blocks, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what that means is if you pull up to have a break at 2 minutes past 12, you
Right.
have to wait until 12:15 to start your 15-minute break. So you waste
Oh,
that 13 minutes. You're
right,
not
right.
technically
Yeah,
breaking. Well, you
right,
know, you can't log that as break time. Whereas on Logmaster, you pull up, you tap the button, 15 minutes later, you're done.
right.
So
It just starts when you start.
yeah. So if you
Okay.
look at it from like an operational efficiency point of view,
Yeah,
say you've got
absolutely.
a transport company that's got 100 trucks, right?
Oh man, the time adds up.
You can save up to an hour a
Yeah,
day just by being on Logmaster. So we're
yeah.
talking about 100 hours in a day extra productivity.
Wow,
All right.
that's insane. It adds
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing as well is if you're a truck driver and you show that book to a roadside official, they can go back
Right, right.
as long as they want. Whereas on the app, they can only see the last 28 days. So,
Okay,
I've had
right.
so many drivers say, I got a logbook check and the guy gave me a fine from last year, from something I
What?
did last year.
Oh wow.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm
Wow,
raving now,
wow.
but it's a really, really good product in the truck
Yeah,
market.
absolutely. It sounds like it's a long overdue product as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
in terms of competition, there were only a few in the space, so it's a
Yeah,
regulated product. You have to
yeah,
build a complex piece of
yeah,
software. The
for
regulator's
sure.
got to approve it for
For
use.
sure.
There's
Yeah.
different types. We did the really hard one, which means you can run it on Android and Apple.
Yeah.
But there was some competitors in the space, big companies like Telstra-backed companies and American companies who, they developed early on for it and they did an early version of it.
Yeah.
And, the way they did their product just wasn't hitting. It wasn't
Right.
making everyone feel good or feel like there's a lot of
Right.
value in
Right.
it. So
Right.
when we came to do it, we wanted to do it differently.
Right. It was a game changer.
Yeah.
So it sounds very smooth. It sounds like, everyone got what they wanted and then you were able to provide for that niche. What were there any pain points during the growth?
Um, Pain points during the growth. So when the product was brand new and fresh,
Yeah.
right? There were certainly a couple of little things that we needed to work really hard to tweak for user experience.
Right. Okay.
So we were really lucky because we got a really good operations manager who's a brilliant
Okay.
coder and is
Right.
experienced in this sort of stuff. So we
Right.
have a good team, but you know, obviously capital is fun to deal with as a director.
As always.
Making sure you've got enough capital there and the right types of investors there.
Especially when you're doing both iOS, both Apple and Android.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone from Apple's going to see this, but man, get your shit together. Like it's really, yeah. Android's great to develop on. Apple,
Yeah.
they just make it hard. Like,
Yeah.
it's fun. Why make it hard?
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Is
so it
that
was early
compliant?
stage. Was it kind of smooth sailing after?
Sorry, Adam. Did you ask me if this is wine?
Yes.
No, it's coffee.
No, sorry. When you said about Apple. Hopefully, you don't get sued if you answer this question. But is it a compliance issue or a technical issue? Like, is it the rules around having to navigate with Apple, or is it technical, or both?
So when you're developing apps, you've got Android store, like Google Play Store, and they've got their set of rules. And then you've got Apple, the App Store, and they've got their set of rules. And you've got interesting things like policy and procedure, and then you've got permissions and all of that sort of thing. And then you're dealing with feature sets within the phones as well, and how to develop features that, cross over nicely. And Apple just usually adds this slight layer of complexity to it.
Sorry,
yeah,
just
it's just interesting. Everyone knows it's always a little bit harder to get that Apple experience super smooth, especially when you're trying to build on extra features and use different parts.
Okay.
Right. Okay. What do you think are the elements that contribute to Logmaster's success?
Good question. I think it was definitely the lack of a quality product like that in the industry.
It was pretty hungry. It's a hungry market.
It was a hungry market. There were options for people, but they had quite a few blockers in there and a few missing pieces, right? So definitely the product market fit is really important.
For sure.
Also, so we're talking about things that contribute to the success. Customer service, right? I know everyone bangs on about it, but like when we did our research early on, we heard a lot of horror stories about companies that really struggled to get support for the tech that they have. And so a lot of businesses feeling like a number, they can't get someone on the phone. They're waiting a week or more to get support.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a really painful client to have. Like I expect a certain level of service. Like if I'm paying for something,
right,
working, I want help. So always put a huge emphasis on making sure the customers feel like we're only one call away.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why we have a 24/7 support line. So
you do?
Yeah.
That's huge. Okay.
If you're a driver or an admin and you're using our product, you got an O2 number you can call all the time. Like, because these truck drivers, they don't drive 9 to 5. Like,
no, yeah, exactly.
And because we're talking about a business critical piece of their job, they need to be able to call us at 2 o'clock.
For sure.
They might get me or the other director or someone pick up the phone and go, "Thanks for calling Logmaster. What do you want? Like, how can I help you?"
Right. But at least you're on the line, right?
Yeah. They're gonna speak to someone, and if the line is busy, they get a phone call back as quickly as possible. I definitely think that helps towards the success. Also, the sentiment is really important. Like we get a lot of work from just truck drivers showing off their app at truck stops.
Oh, really? Word of mouth.
Yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous. And it happens with businesses as well. So, it's really funny. We did a big bus company in Victoria, and then after it was in and they saw the benefits, they start posting about it on their Facebook pages, and then suddenly talking about it to other bus company people they know, and now suddenly we've got all these bus companies.
Wow!
Love it.
That's incredible. Yeah. Okay. So really, you hit the market well, and because you heard feedback, right? You listened to the feedback, you actually implemented those changes, and you built. I heard you mention that you built it from the ground up after talking to the companies, right?
Yeah. So we did all of this research and sort of talking to compliance managers in the industry about what they have, why they don't like it, what's missing, what the dream state would be for their compliance, all that sort of stuff. We built it with all that in mind, and then grew it and add features and functions. Like when you when you start off, you're just trying to get some customers to use it so they can give you feedback and you can make it better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then suddenly businesses are using it, and you got a new set of, hey, it'd be great if I could run this report or export this with API.
Yeah.
And then when you get big corporates looking at it with hundreds or thousands of trucks, they want a whole nother set of features.
True.
The ability to create depots and I want my trucks, my admins, and my drivers in Perth to not have to see the stuff that's So then you got like enterprise or corporate function and feature set built into it. So we definitely grew by listening to the people using it and actually they lose their minds when they go, oh, I really would love this button. And you're like, let me work on it. And they're like, oh, shit, I can't do anything. And then 3 weeks later, you go, hey, remember that button you wanted?
Oh,
They go, oh my God, you built me a button. That's great.
Actually, there's a button now.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So definitely those things were huge. I love hearing that people like a brand and the way the brand is positioned, the way it looks, the tone of the brand, that sort of stuff is really cool. But
how do you mean? Like, is it the culture or like the branding? What's the unique branding of Logmaster?
So we're here to make life easy for truck drivers and transport
that
operators.
sounds good already.
Right? We want to make it easy for them. We want to get rid of paper. We want to automate and digitize things, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of customers, when they come through, I say, why did you choose us from the list? And they said, your website's great, or you just got the right information, or your website was clean and simple, and you said you do what I was looking for.
Right. Yeah.
Those sorts of things. So branding is really important.
Right. Okay.
Also, like if we're talking about why is it successful, it's the sales model that we have. So we don't sell directly to the end users. We have a channel of companies who sell the product.
Yeah.
So we're like when you're a truck company and you go and buy technology and tracking and that sort of stuff, you usually go to a company like Verizon or Mixed Telematics or Geotab.
Oh, really?
Radius. Okay. You go to these specialist businesses to buy your telematics products.
Okay, right. Do they have a suite of services, or is it a la carte kind
of? Do they, or do we?
Does Verizon or like the middlemen, do they have?
Yeah. So those telematics businesses have a range of different products and services that they sell to transport businesses. Right. So early on, we thought, well, rather than us just stand there and say, hey, everyone come buy Logmaster, let's go and get all the people who are selling to our industry and our target market. We'll stock our product in their shop.
Right, distributors. Yeah.
Exactly. So, one of the earliest ones that we signed was a really big Fortune 500 company looking for a product to sell in Australia. And so there was really early validation that we picked the right model there. So we sell through, I think we've got 83 distribution partners in Australia.
Wow.
And they on-sell the product through to drivers and transport companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that is insane. Okay, so you're just hitting every mark, right? You're doing everything right.
Trying to. I wouldn't say everything, but trying to, yeah.
And how long has it been since the founding of Logmaster?
So we founded Logmaster at the end of 2019.
Right,
We released our product middle of 2021.
Okay.
So we've only been in market for, what is that, two years, nearly 2 years.
Wow.
We're market leader already. So we're number one provider in the country. We managed to jump over all of those competitors in 2 years and take the crown.
2 years. And we know the numbers for a startup is probably 90% fail rate to begin with.
Yeah.
And then at least 2 to 3 years just to be in the black.
Yeah.
And you have surpassed that to become the number one provider. That is insane. So you've got all those things you mentioned, branding, listening to feedback, building, actually implementing those things that users give back to you. But anyone can do that. What do you think makes it so that you're the one, like Logmaster is the one to actually do it, all those things right? Because they don't sound like they're out of this world, right? Like,
well, I'm very lucky that I have a really, really good business partner.
Okay, right.
So my co-founder Stuart, he was with me at Ola, right? So
he was Sydney, right?
He was looking after Sydney while I was looking after Brisbane. So he was seeing that problem in the industry early on.
Yeah.
Really, really smart guy, has an MBA, really just a great guy. He's kind of like my polar opposite. So I do a lot of the frontline stuff. I deal with people when they don't have Logmaster, and then once they do have it, if they need support, they get Stuart.
Right. So you're like the sales from your history of sales.
Yeah. So he's very operational. He's very structured. He doesn't have ADHD, so he can focus on lots of different things really well. So definitely having Stuart as a business partner was really helpful. I've had little businesses with people in the past that just like made me a bit worried to go into business with other people again, but Stuart's great.
How do you choose the right business partner?
Oh God.
Great.
If you can do business by yourself, just do it by yourself.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, you really got to trust them and know that they're responsible and hardworking as well. I think hardworking, because it's not easy to get a company off the ground and get it. It's really hard. That's why so many fail. But definitely building the right culture and right team around you of hardworking people, and then also just being super hungry. Like I have goals. I have goals. I'm getting old. I want a Lamborghini. I want a mansion. I want to become an investor. I just I'm not going to do it. If I don't work really really hard. So drive and passion and just get out and do it down, sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So everything turned out so well in your trajectory. So it makes it hard to ask this question. How would you do things differently, knowing what you know now? You can say nothing. It seems like such a smooth journey.
How would I have done things differently? So there's certain things that we learned across the way and slightly tweaked operationally. And I guess without doing it, we wouldn't have learned that. So I would definitely take some learnings about some things that we've done and just make them that way from the start.
Right.
So, for example, if we're talking about our channel sales model, in the beginning, it was supposed to be, we provide the product to you, you do everything. Good luck, go sell it.
Right.
It just doesn't work like that. When you're, so now what we do is we serve directly, but we don't sell directly, which means
that's good.
You can come to us and get a demonstration. You can always call us up and talk about it. But you just buy it off the person, off the company that you're buying it off. So if we'd have known that earlier, we could have said to the partners, hey, just bring people along to the demo. We'll do all the work for you. There's definitely an employee that I would not have hired.
Okay. To that point is so interesting because and so is essential. You mentioned the importance of the brand, right? And so hiring people becomes quintessential because people make the brand. So you have to maintain that with every hire. What's your selection process like? How do you know which people would fit the brand?
They got to work really, really hard and see the opportunity. Like they really got to see the opportunity and how important the product is to the company.
Right.
So I'm actually trying to hire right now. So if anyone's listening and you've got skills in software and are a nice person and work really hard, get in touch. But it's that attitude. Like you can teach skills, but you can't teach attitude and personality.
That's great. That's good.
When you're selling or promoting a product like this, you can't be a robot. You got to understand what the end user is going through in their job and explain how this solves their problems. As a human, you can't just go, oh, here's a PDF with some data on it. Call me when you want to buy it. It just doesn't work like that. You need to. Every transport business is different, and they all have different challenges. And so you really need to be a good, genuine, hardworking, personality type person to do this.
You sound like such a people person, which is so interesting because not all the salespeople I've talked to sound like you. I guess they sound like salespeople, but then you sound like you value people for their opinions and for their needs, to really just hear them when they tell you about their problems, which is almost like a therapist.
Well, you gotta care about the person, right? You gotta love your customer so that they love you. And
oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Because I could sell you something and you might like it, but if you don't like me, you're not gonna actively promote it.
Right. No, for sure.
So we give really good service and we care a lot because we want the people to go, yeah, I bought Logmaster. I love it. It's great. Hey, you should get this too, and promote it, and it's working.
Yeah. It's like they've become your super fans. At every depot, at every lunch break, they are your salespeople now.
Exactly that. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great takeaway. So one of the last questions, as you know, this is business advice. What advice would you give to young men who want to pursue maybe a similar industry, maybe sales as well, maybe logging as well? What's your advice?
My advice is do not come into my competitive arena. Do not build anything that competes with what I've got.
No chance.
You just get out there and get it done. Like if you've got a really good idea, talk to people that are close to you. There's a method to go and validate something, right? You need to go and solve a problem that someone with money is happy to pay to have it solved. It's so as simple as that. Yeah. If you're looking for a get rich quick scheme, it's not start a business. It's not start a business and try and get a huge valuation.
Guys, you gotta listen to this. Josh, would you mind saying it again for all our listeners?
If you want to get rich quick, don't start a company. Go rob a bank or something. You're like that. Don't do that either. Yeah, if you have an idea, if you have the balls to do it, if you've got the work ethics to do it, go do it, because it's really rewarding. It's really challenging, and there's nail biting moments, and but once you get going and and get to profitability and have hundreds of customers that love it, or someone walks up to you and go, "Are you that guy from?" And you're like, "Yeah." It's super, super rewarding. And make sure you have a really good CFO or an accountant, because the money is really important. You might think that you're doing great, and then you're not. Or you might be not. You might think you're not doing great, but actually you're profitable. That sort of stuff.
True.
Yeah, it is totally possible for you to dream something up, create it, and sell it with the right help and the right support and the right attitude. You can absolutely do it.
That's awesome. That's so good. I actually have an interesting question. Because I'm a coach, I'm an executive coach. I work with a lot of executives to balance the work ethic and their personal life. You've mentioned hard work so many times, and I love that. How do you balance your work ethic? Because you sound like you're really into your machine, but you also have your own personal life. You have a family as well, right?
Yeah. I got to say, early on, when we were building it, it was grueling. It was because we were full-time working at the time. So we were full-time working and trying to build the company.
Oh, right. True.
At night time, right?
So you have 2 shifts, right? You have day job and night job.
Yeah. So I know at one point I was working, 8 till 6, and then coming home, having a couple of hours, and then getting on the computer and working until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
That went on. So certainly early on in the piece, the family kind of copped it a little bit by me not being around as much. But I think if your family around you knows what you're doing is really important, and it's paying the bills, and you're building a really good future and good upsides and outcomes, they're going to understand that you don't have a 9-to-5 job. You're a company owner. You've got responsibilities and clients who are paying for your mortgage. You have a responsibility to keep happy. It definitely is really important to balance. You need to be able to switch off at the end of the day and spend time with your family. And
how do you switch off when you only have a few hours in between your day and your night shifts? How do you switch off for those few hours?
During that period early on when we were building it, it was really tough. I can't remember how I did it. I think it was just stay focused. Like you work and then you switch off and you leave your phone and your computer in another room.
Okay, right. Physically remove. Yeah.
Physically remove yourself from the things that you've been right in front of all day, and focus in on your family. So I've got a 5-year-old and I've got a little girl on the way in May. I've got a wife,
congrats!
Mortgage, all that sort of stuff. So you got to keep them happy as well. That's really important. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, and that's communication I hear as well. It's like you mentioned, as long as your family know what it means to you and why you're doing it as well.
Yeah,
that it becomes easier for them to support you.
Yeah, well, I figure if it wasn't for their support and understanding, wouldn't be here, right? It's a team,
right? Yeah, it
family,
is a team effort.
Team, right? So, my wife, she does a lot for me and the house and the family, right? And if she didn't, I couldn't do what I do for the business side of the family. So it's a team effort in here for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's actually fantastic because some of my clients would think that it's either work or it's like work versus personal life. But I think what you're saying here, what was amazing is that it's a team effort, it's a family unit, and you're all running the business together in different ways. Yeah. You couldn't do what you're doing if not for your wife's support. And so I think it's actually communicating that part and also making that work because it's going to look different for every family. But I think the core principles stand. That is amazing. Yeah. And so now has it shifted? Like now you don't have another day job. This is your full-time work.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no. There's been some rounds of investment that investors have made in Logmaster, and then as the revenue grew, we were able to both leave our jobs. And
that's
we're
good.
Full time in this, and have been for quite some time. Yeah, it was certainly really interesting, actually calling up your employer and saying, "Hey, I got to hand in my resignation. Why?" Well, I'm going to run my own company. My boss was really pissed. Stuart's boss was fine with it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm making a lot more than I am here.
I'm done making you money. I'm going to make some for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, the hard work paid off for the family team, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's so good. All right. Thank you so much, Josh, for your time.
You're welcome.
I learned a lot personally. I'm sure Adam did too, and I think our listeners got a lot of value from it. And it's not every day they get to listen to someone who has a $20 million business, and it's great to hear that a business is not the fastest way to earn money.
Hell no. Yeah.
That's
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
It is our pleasure. And so, I'll talk to you soon. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Business Advice Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.